Hello, everyone, and welcome to the episode 67 of the Office Hours podcast. We are happy to welcome back Mo, and let's get on with it. Hey, Mo, what's new and exciting?
Oh my God, Vasili, this question, I don't know. Um, exciting is it's difficult to say these days. I mean, a lot is happening. I was actually listening to some YouTube videos just before we started talking, and yeah, I don't know if exciting is the word I want to use. I mean, some of them were like hopeful. I was watching there was this guy that was talking about how he just got laid off and there was also this other one I was talking about how like tech is software developers blah blah blah. I had to turn that one off. I don't like that sound. I really don't. Because I feel like some people kind of like overblow the situation. But yeah, I mean, things are happening, but I don't know if it's that. I mean, I wouldn't call it that serious because I feel like, yeah, the things that we see are the reasons for well, you know what? To start with, what do you think is the reason for like the economic situation in the tech industry?
Oof, that's a well. We kind of talked about it a little bit before, but I think just like the hyper oversaturation of the market during like the lockdown times, company was just hiring like crazy, and a lot of a lot of industries for some reason I think thought that they're gonna last forever. So all of the everything that had to do with like their clients sitting on a couch staring at a screen, that was like making tons of money during the pandemic.
Mhm.
But when that was over, people were like, okay, well, I guess I don't need 25 movie streaming subscriptions. I don't need like five different live service game subscriptions because now I actually have to go to work and like I just don't have time for all that stuff. So a lot of those things kind of went off a cliff. And companies just realized that they hired so many people. We've all seen the TikToks of like a day in life of a tech worker, where it's just like literally some person that literally does absolutely nothing, bragging about how they're getting paid like some insane salary, and they look at it and be like, okay, yeah, that's kind of not a good thing. So a bunch of people got let go back into the market. Prices, or sorry, I guess the labor costs, not the labor costs, but like the salaries went down with it because just so much competition. You literally competing against everybody else at the same time. And a lot of those people have like various Googles and Metas and Amazons and whatnot on their resume. So, it's also making it really tough. Even though, like, if you look at their TikToks, they haven't done jack shit at Google or Meta or Amazon, but it still says so on their resume. So I don't know. The thing is like I've been mostly insulated from it. Like I did switch jobs during COVID, um, but I haven't really felt it as much myself because maybe I'm like most of the things I'm talking about are kind of more like a US thing. But whatever US tech market does has very fast repercussions for the Canadian tech market. It's just because we are so much smaller. It doesn't maybe feel as painful.
Go on. I was
Um,
gonna say don't say that, but go on.
that it doesn't feel as painful. I guess I mean, it does. It does. But I imagine if you can get a salary of like 250K US and all of a sudden you have nothing, but and then in Canada you're going from a salary of like 100K. I think it's just because the salaries are like considerably lower in the tech sector in Canada. Um, the spread is narrower. So even if you get a hit to your take home pay if you force to switch jobs, it's probably not going to be as drastic as what's happening in the States. But that's like a pure speculation because I haven't really looked at the figures. It's just how it feels like. I could be wrong.
I think I was. I mean, I don't know if you finish your thought process, but I was gonna say,
Mm.
I think it might be. I think it might be like unfair to compare these kind of things like this because I feel no matter how much money you earn, I think this money serves a certain purpose in your life, to your lifestyle, to your life. So someone who was earning 250,000 per year US and then suddenly no longer has this amount does not make the person suffer more or less than someone who was probably earning like a $60,000. And I feel like at the same this the suffer is probably gonna be the same, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, I just don't know if I would say
I
like
guess I was
maybe
just saying it from like a position of lifestyle, because for a lot of people, when their salary increases, they tend to increase their lifestyle with it. Like, nobody likes to stay at the same spot lifestyle wise. Everybody immediately wants to get a bigger house, a bigger car, and all
yeah,
these
true,
things.
fair enough.
So
Yeah,
when it all comes crashing down, that inflated lifestyle you're just not able to afford. But if the swing is like, it's painful, you can feel it, but it's not like you have to downsize immediately because you can no longer afford the house you live in. Like, I was kind of saying it from that perspective.
yeah,
um
maybe.
I guess as a financial advice, the best thing you can do is, like, if you have a sudden windfall, do not immediately readjust your lifestyle to it, unless, I guess, that was your goal. Like, if you really wanted to get a high paying job for the express purpose of improving your lifestyle, well, then go ahead. But I feel like, um if you were able to live at the previous level in terms of like your amenities and the kind of car you drive and the kind of places you go to and the kind of vacations you take, if if all of a sudden you get an extra 100K, let's say, in a crazy hypothetical, you can still live 1 year more like this, put that extra 100K into some investment vehicle and benefit massively 20 years down the line at a cost of like 1 year of not even depriving yourself, but rather staying where you were. That you should be okay to, drag it out just a little bit longer. So that would be my strategy, but I understand that that's not everybody's approach.
You want to put a disclaimer to the financial advice, or you really want to
I
call
think
it
that's
financial?
just common sense advice. Financial advice would be to buy X stock or Y ETF. Like, that would be financial advice. But like saying don't be a dummy with your money, that's not really financial advice. It's more of a
Well,
just
fair enough,
common sense
fair enough.
advice.
Because we have to give, you have to put a disclaimer, like usually for legal reasons.
Yes,
But
yes.
anyway, I was, uh, I was actually like, I think most people probably really look at like, oh yeah, during COVID, like there was a lot of hiring, overhiring or something like this, and maybe like the bust of the economy led to a lot of this situation. Because I was talking with one of my friends that works in one of these big tech companies in Canada,
Hmm.
and he was saying like they don't even know who is there tomorrow because tomorrow you might just like check out Slack and the person you were talking to is
It's
no longer there.
gone.
It's gone.
Account deactivated with no
You
avatar.
know,
Yeah.
they don't even announce it anymore, like, and in the video I was watching, I learned, I learned that even now, like, the situation isn't even like a bit more complicated because
I think now they just
now,
kind of learned the lesson that, like, if you announce a 10% cut of your workforce, that looks really bad. So they kind of try to do it on a down low more.
do you have it on your side too? Like,
Huh?
do you have this layoffs like on
Mm, I don't think that we had too many. No, I don't think so. Like there were
Uh,
individuals being laid off, but there were no mass layoffs, thankfully. But
so
I personally know people from like companies that were undergoing layoffs and kind of managed to not get laid off, but that was like a tense couple of weeks for them.
yeah, yeah. This person was talking about this person was talking about how like companies, aside from the economical reasons, are now also looking to downsize with the assistance of like artificial intelligence to expect, so like junior devs to meet senior devs, or like uh being are struggling in mostly the market because senior devs are now in the market competing with mid to junior level
Mm-hmm.
engineers to get into to apply for like the same job.
Yeah, everybody's
And
competing with everybody
we
else.
so now like the hierarchy is a bit like affected because everyone is just trying to get the job. And and the person was saying that even now companies are trying to like keep a very lean size of developers in the company, and um, also give them more artificial AI tools to be able to expect more output from them. And that seems to me like a trendy thing because amongst my in my circle right now, I hear a lot of this happening in their
Yeah.
companies, and like, and I'm starting to think like, you know what? First of all, like I think with the new the way the industry is going right now, I think there should be more tools. There should be more. On paper, it looks like there should be more jobs because there should be more companies starting up. Because if you have, whenever like there is like things like this, a lot of people. But I think maybe the issue is that like these ones that are starting up don't have enough compensation power as like the ones everybody wants to go to. So I feel I don't know. It's if you really look around, it's difficult to analyze. I'm just trying to like understand it a little bit, like, and also I think we are looking at it from a tech perspective, but I think this happens everywhere in every industry too. It's just like when it happens in the tech companies, it makes a lot of like gets a lot of like attention and all. But I think in many industries, everybody did the same thing, and many industries right now probably have the same issue. And this is economy, it's not
Yeah,
technonomy.
yeah, it's not
Okay.
specific to tech. I think it's like most pronounced in tech or like tech adjacent, so like design. But I also hear some things about like the copywriting and people who actually like write for a living, people who do design for a
Mm,
living, like AI has massive impact on them. And there's a couple other things that I wanted to say is that one of them is that I think that the juniors and new grads are getting like the shortest end of the stick right now because nobody
mm,
wants to hire them.
yeah.
Because a lot of people operate under the idea that they don't need to hire juniors because they can just replace them with AI or something. And on the other hand, like you have all the seniors and intermediates competing with each other, so you can get like a good intermediate for much lower than you were able to before. So like, why would you go for a junior where you can get a provably higher quality talent at a discount,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um,
It's business, yeah? Business is
well,
business.
it is business, but that to me that feels very short-sighted because again, juniors eventually grow into intermediates, and intermediates eventually grow into seniors. But if you blockade the river at its source, eventually by the time it's supposed to hit the ocean, there's no more water there because hey, like that process never happened all the way. The maturation never occurred because if you're
Oh,
not
what you're
hired as
trying
a
to say.
junior,
Mm-hmm.
eventually the supply dries out. You know, so where are you going to get your intermediates from? People don't just graduate and become intermediates right away because it is still like a maturing process of gaining the experience.
Hmm.
I think they
Yeah.
maybe are banking on the fact that like the AI would become better, and if it's at like a very crappy junior level right now, in 10 years time it might reach like an intermediate level. Whether that is going to happen or not is really hard to say, especially right now. But the thing is like you made that bed, and 10 years down the line you're going to have to lie in it, and if that prediction doesn't come true, like if the AI stays at the same level as it is right now, what are you going to do then? Well, I guess then all of the seniors and intermediates can basically charge whatever the hell they like, because there's no more new ones coming in, and the new ones that would be coming in at the time would obviously be of even poorer quality, because if you stop the supply, you also lose a lot of skills that has to do with training people and making them better. Because if nobody's training anybody to become better, you also lose those skills too, right? So now you would have to start training juniors from scratch at the diminishing level of training skills. So if that bet doesn't pay off, it could be quite interesting time.
You know, I see from my point of view, I see it like I don't think that we will the whole progression as it used to be will remain the same. I feel like software development process, like the art itself, is changing in a way that it's no longer like like as you said, like if we say like AI right now in terms of like coding is probably like a crappy junior right now. And it means that in like 10 years from now, like you said, like there is a chance that it might get better and get smarter and like be able to do better things. So then it changes the fact that we will be working the same way. I feel like we would need to pivot to do something else. We have to improve our own knowledge in a way. And I'm starting to feel like even though the economy looks like this right now, I feel like at some point something will happen. It's gonna pick up again. There will be like tons of like I think this happens every time, like in different industries. Like right now it's just tech because tech seems to get a lot of buzz. Anything that happens in tech seems to make a lot of news. But I feel like there will be um a situation that will change a lot of things. I feel like soon we're going to have like all the like the jobs back and everything going to get regulated.
Well,
But at
yeah.
that point, at that time, I think the nature of the job might require a different set of skill than it used to,
Hmm.
a different level of skill than it used to.
Well, I mean
Like
that the industry is evolving with or without AI. You always have to update yourself and stay sharp. And I think like AI is ultimately another piece of tech, and pretty much every tech thing that came
exactly.
out follows that, the hype curve. So we're like at the peak of a hype curve, but potentially it's gonna crash into, the the valley of disillusionment, where it does not immediately deliver on all of the promises that they had, and then slowly eventually it makes like some steady progress. So maybe 10 years down the line, it's gonna reach some level. But the other thing, like, I'm a little bit skeptical about it too, is mostly because of the training data sources. um they had to like scour entirety of GitHub, or like all the open and public code on GitHub to train these things, right? But a lot of the code on GitHub is ass, right? It's just like everybody's half-baked project, halfway done, without understanding what's going on. Like, in order for AI to get better, it needs better source material. So if all the companies just willingly open everything for AI training, and then we get the examples of better code, and even then, I worked in I worked in commercial companies that make closed source proprietary code. The amount of shit in there is just astonishing. Like, maybe NASA can boast some really high levels of code, but then the sample size is too small to like generalize an entire industry out of that. And now we've had like one loop, one iteration, and all of the sources they used to train their code on are now polluted with AI generated code. And as you've seen, if you train AI on AI generated code, the quality just tanks really, really fast. It degenerates into complete garbage really, really quickly. So there's no more available easy sources of like pure unadulterated human produced code that they can train these things on. So I don't know how they're going to dig themselves out of that situation. And that's why I'm still a little bit skeptical about the quality level drastically improving. Like, I think the only way it can drastically improve if they start hitting the boundaries of like general intelligence, like general artificial intelligence, which I
This is what is happening.
no,
I feel
no, it's not. Uh,
they are really on the way, Vasili.
they are on the. We've been on the way since the '60s. We've been on a way to
No,
general AI since the '60s. More read some history. Like they were saying that
maybe.
we're gonna hit AI any day now, and it's been happening for years and years and years. We made massive progress recently due to extremely cheap compute that they use for it. So it was like it was like a quantitative leap. It wasn't a qualitative leap. Just because the technology allows for them to do more and better number crunching, they use these algorithms. They come up with new algorithms. They come up with new like fancy ways of organizing their neural networks. But the basic principles come from like 60 years ago. So Gen AI, probably not. Not. I don't know. I don't know what will happen in my lifetime. Like an actual bona fide Gen AI, like something that is quote unquote thinking on its own and not just hallucinating something that matches the reality like 85% of the time.
So now, the reason why I feel like this is no longer a thing like because right now these tools have access to internet. They can do their own research. I mean, I don't want to really geek on about it because I feel
Oh no, it's
it's
not. It's not bickering. It's just different viewpoints.
no, I'm like say geek on. I say
Oh, geek. Okay,
geek
okay, okay.
on. Yeah, like I don't wanna go too deep into it, but I know I have read some of the recent developments, and I feel like it's pretty impressive. And I don't, in the beginning, let's say like as a 2022, thereabout, 20, late 21, I feel like we could say, oh yeah, this is hallucination, and it's just like repeating what it saw somewhere, right? Like now, with the amount of usage that they have every day, like the amount of people that are actually querying this stuff, the the amount of data to learn from keeps expanding. You know, it's no longer just like, oh yeah, you're just gonna go
But
take all the data,
can
all the
AI learn from questions it's being asked?
yeah. So
How?
like when because
If you don't
if
know
you
the
ask
answer to the question and you don't have any means of like looking things
no,
up,
but if no, so there so if you I don't know for anyone else, like I know you don't generally don't really I don't know if you still use it or no. I don't think have you tried it though?
which what?
Uh ChatGPT, like for example,
No, I still
yeah,
don't use it. Yeah.
yeah, but if you at some point have the time to like look into it, like sometimes when you ask the questions in and you define how you want your answers, the next time you ask it the same question or like similar question, it's going to reply you in the way that you prefer the last time. And over time, this is just general questions, but even code level, same thing. Like you can refine your answers and like next time you come there, you're gonna get like this level of quality that you had the last time. So stuff like this. I don't know if I'm explaining it properly, but I know for sure, like I would say I don't have proof, but I know like this is a learning point for the tool. But aside this, I'm not even worried about AI's development really. I guess what I'm most concerned about is what would be like the skills to really like start looking into to prepare yourself for the post um how do you say that? Post economic boost in the industry. Like when things starts to pick up. Are we gonna say like is it gonna be like now we have to like learn like more um would everybody start going into like machine learning or like will people start going into like because I know like
Yeah. Well, I mean, we did talk about it before as well, and I remember saying like back in the day, if you wanted to drive a car, you needed to be a mechanic, but you no longer need to be a mechanic to drive a car. So I don't think that people have to go into machine learning to use machine learning algorithms in their work, right?
not
I
to
don't think that
use.
that's what's going to be happening.
I'm talking about engineers. Like
Right. But like a lot of engineers, even today, they have no idea necessarily how it works, but they still use it.
mhm.
So why would I have to become a machine learning specialist in order to just apply it practically in my work? I don't think I do.
Because fair enough. I'm just wild guess. I'm just putting this out like what do you think would be like the skill that you can prepare you for the post
Uh,
economic boost, you know?
I don't know. I would still put my bets on fundamentals because the biggest problem with people who learn who like I was actually watching something recently and they were saying how whenever people do tasks that are externally assisted, they do not they have poor learning outcomes in that scenario. So, and the examples they give, it's like, we make people write an essay and one group writes it on a paper with a pen, and then the other group writes it using a word processor with like spell check and grammar correct and everything. And then after several iterations, people who were doing it by hand showed better results in terms of the amount of like grammar mistakes and spelling mistakes and yada 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 compared to the people who were using the tools that aided them in their work, right? It's the whole conversation about the muscle that's not being used is going to get atrophied. So if all of the work you do, if you just become a conduit between the chat GPT and your Visual Studio Code, you are not necessarily learning anything. And I see that too. Like if people come up with something, or rather, if they bring me something that ChatGPT came up for them, they usually have a really hard time explaining anything in terms of what's actually happening. They have some sort of plausible solution to a problem, but they cannot explain it. So effectively, it's magic. From my perspective, it's like, well, they haven't learned anything. They haven't understood anything. If they have to replicate it a week from now, they would not be able to do it on their own. So they're not effectively learning. They're not effectively growing. And it's not really serving them. Ultimately, again, it's like when I was younger, I was studying drafting because for some reason, I don't know, the school model back then was like, okay, once you hit certain grade, I believe it's like grade 8 or something like that, you study drafting, like technical drafting with like a ruler and a protractor
Mhm.
and like the whole thing to draft blueprints of things as a skill. And it's like, okay, we do have AutoCAD, but I guess maybe AutoCAD is something that you can kind of jump into, but still, you can't really jump into more advanced things without understanding fundamentals. You may be able to do very primitive things with advanced tools, but because you don't know the fundamentals, like it's like a big roadblock on your way. And I feel like it's exactly the same thing. It's like people who drive with GPS don't know the city they live in. Like if they don't have a navigation, then they would not be able to get most places because they don't really know how to get there. And
Do you know?
things of that nature. Huh?
Do you drive with GPS?
I drive with GPS, but I usually drive it so that I can get like alerts for like speed traps and police and things like that.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And sometimes it chooses to take really strange routes, and sometimes it makes really strange decisions. But I do notice it. Like if I drive to GPS, I'm just gonna do whatever the machine is telling me to do, and not really think about it, even though there's potentially better alternatives or something. And sometimes I mean, I get to my destination every time, so I guess it hasn't been a problem so far.
Mhm.
But what I'm saying is, if you give somebody a crutch when they don't require one, it will have negative consequences for them. It's like, I would happily use a CAD tool for drafting if I need to do a shit ton of drafting and it just makes my life easier, because I already know everything that needs to be done. It's a better hammer effectively. But if you start with that and you don't understand the fundamentals, you're going to have harder time further on, because, it's really hard to build on a shaky foundations. So my bet for the inevitable value of disillusionment in AI, when people are actually going to say, hey, I think we still need human engineers and their reasoning skills, my bet would still be on fundamentals mostly. But I could be wrong. I don't know.
You know, I mean, I s- if in the event that people are focusing on actual quality over like speed of production, I think but this will be true. Like this might, I don't know. Like this is just my own point of view, right? Because I feel like even right now, as we speak, most companies would rather take speed over like progress.
Yes,
Yes,
I,
like
I think you are
just
correct.
give
Being first to
me,
market with a shitty code base is still better
just
than
give
being
me,
second to the market with a good code base.
yeah, just give it to me right now, and this is the business side of it. So like if we're talking from like a personal touch, like a personal development side of it, like I understand this for sure. But in the case like the business side of it, like I don't know if many people want to like give a lot of like junior devs the opportunity to grow into the role or like stuff like this. I don't know. I don't know. I guess maybe some companies that really have this as part of their culture, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was gonna give you a morbid example of what happens in the future if it progresses like that, but I don't know if you heard about all these scandals about like all these fast fashion brands who were
Mhm.
producing their garments like somewhere in Bangladesh in horrible
Yeah,
conditions, and like entire building collapsed, killing a bunch of people because it was just completely.
yeah.
So it's like it's a path to the bottom. If you just want fast, crappy shit that breaks tomorrow and you don't care about anything else, you can certainly have that. But the industry as a whole, like if the majority of players start moving in that direction, I think there are other industries where you can see parallels that, you start sacrificing on quality control. Okay, if I'm buying, I don't know, if my wife's buying a dress at one of those fast fashion companies and then she wants to wear it one day and it rips in half and she can't wear it anymore, that's unfortunate, but not that big a deal. But if it's like a plane manufacturer or like some software that runs some medical system, that's quite a it's quite a worse outcome for everyone involved potentially. So like, do I want to live in that world? Not particularly.
But what choice do you have? What choice do we have then? Like, how do you?
Well, we can personally, I guess, strive for better quality. But overall, as an entire industry, I mean, I tend to agree with you. Like 2 episodes ago, I was just bitching and moaning about how crappy the quality of everything is these days and how nobody really understands anything that they build. Uh, I am just but one man against the sea of that. You know, I can only do so much personally.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. But I have this other question for you. Yeah, right now, if you have you ever like, I mean, maybe not right now, like at any point in your career, have you ever considered working for like the FAANG companies?
The what companies?
FAANG, how do they call them now? FAANG,
Oh,
you
FAANG,
know,
like Facebook,
FAANG.
Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you
Um,
say it? FAANG, you know?
FAANG, yeah, I guess.
Okay.
FAANG. Is it even?
Okay.
Well, the Facebook is no longer even Facebook, so it's like Mang, and that just sounds weird.
Anyway, yeah, you get my point. Go on.
And I don't even know about Netflix. Is such a powerhouse it used to be software wise that it was like 10, or like 5, 10 years ago.
I
I
don't
have no
know.
idea. I have no idea.
They got
Um,
into the list anyway. So
I thought about it. I mean, I definitely wouldn't mind the salary, but majority of these companies are just so terminally political, and the stuff that they do, like even my company, they like do a bunch of really bizarre shit that I don't want to deal with. But like Microsoft's and Facebook's of the world, like holy fuck, that's like times a billion, all of that crap. So personally, they don't like what I represent, and I would not like to be in a position to work at a place where I'm not welcome.
so this is your reason. But I mean,
Eh,
just the
well, that and the whole, evil empire and yada yada yada. Uh,
what I mean, would you tell me what you represent? I'm not sure I got that part. What do you mean what you represent?
well, a lot of companies are getting embroiled in these scandals with like the diversity hiring and how they like
Oh,
reject certain applicants. And I'm like the perfect candidate to be rejected under those criteria. So I don't even try because like why would I set myself up for a disappointment of that nature? Maybe only to troll.
hypothetically,
Yeah.
hypothetically, yeah.
Mm.
You know what? Hypothetically, let's in one moment, just for the sake of our conversation right now, put aside the reasons why you don't want to join them. But let's say you want to be in top leagues of tech companies. What would be your game plan?
Shit, I don't know. That's a really tough question. I ask myself that question because um, sometimes I talk to people who make like, well, not orders of magnitudes more than I do, but like double, sometimes triple of what I make, and I'm like, how come I don't work at a company like that? And sometimes the answer is that like I'm just too lazy to grind lead code and do that particular song and dance, because a lot of these companies that like pay higher rates, they have these weird interview practices where there's just like lead code and like the 7 hour. Like I interviewed at Amazon a bunch of years back, and I cannot say that it was a pleasant experience. It was a grind. I mean, I get it. Like so many people want to work there, they really have to be very careful about their choices. So they have to like prolong the interview as much as possible. I don't even know if it's a good strategy. We kind of talked about it in a couple of episodes ago about like the interviewing strategies, what makes sense and what doesn't. And I'm honestly too lazy to grind lead code. And maybe because I'm so lazy, I'm earning like 100K less that I could have been otherwise. It's a possibility. Um, Maybe I'll have some pressing circumstances that will like actually force me to do something about it. I kind of dread that day because I don't know. I'm not the type A personality where it's like, okay, let's Jocko willing this thing. Let's wake up at 4 a.m. and go on a 3 hour run, and then two hours at the gym, and then grind for 10 hours and sleep for 3, and then make $1 billion. I'm not that guy.
Vasili.
And so my paycheck, I believe, reflects that in a lot of ways. And I don't know if I can become that guy. It's just, to me, it would just be very miserable. Like when I was working on a little side project with friends that I'm still working on right now, but I don't work as many hours because, like, a couple of years ago and last year, I would literally work like a full 8 hour day, and then I would work like another 4 to 5 hours on top. And after 2.5 months, I was getting crazy. I was just getting insane. I was like, I don't feel like it's a lifestyle for me. I'm like, shit, man, I'm like 41. Come on. If I were 20, maybe. But now, there's just no way in hell. I like my comforts. Screw that noise.
Fair enough. Honestly, I totally understand you. And it's true, like, I guess the whole grind thing it's not for every, it's just like, I just asked the question because I guess mostly for academic purpose, because I also want to know, like, I want to know what the game plan would be. Um, yeah, sometimes I think, so part of the video I was watching today, somebody was talking about
Mm-hmm.
like lead code and how like many people just like, go there, grind, speak your mind,
Plus,
stuff like
they
this.
have those like coaching services. Like, if you want to land a job at some specific company, they have people who like know their hiring process and the kind of questions they ask you and the kind of answers they expect, and then you pay those guys and they coach you on how to do that interview to kind of increase your chances of getting hired at a place like this. Which is, it's kind of funny. It's like, the whole dead internet theory. It's like robots on one side produce some stuff that robots on the other side consume, and it kind of makes it look like there's a bunch of information on the internet, but it's just like robots talking to other robots. And like the actual relevant human content is like this tiny little percentage, because everybody's just trying to game the system for like clicks and visits and engagement and all that kind of crap, because there's like money involved in it. And this is sort of the same thing, only on the other side. It's like they train you how to pass the glorified multiple choice test that doesn't necessarily prove any of your skills. So you just there to almost like game the system and get the job, and then kind of wing it from there while enjoying like a considerably larger salary. And these people like charge money for it, which is like fair enough. I mean, I don't. It's like a skill of or a service of dubious. It's definitely of the benefit to the applicant, because if they can if it helps them land that job that pays them more money, good for them. But ultimately, it feels a little bit fraudulent, because you're trying to like trick the system into showing yourself as having qualities you don't necessarily have, just because you like memorized all the correct answers for the kind of questions they're gonna be asking you. So in fact, it sort of feels like you're defrauding a company to some extent, and the company that's trained you to do it is facilitating that to some extent. So that whole thing feels kind of fishy. But that's just the nature of the things. You want a better paying job, you can go to borderline unethical means of achieving that, and like what are you gonna do? Or like people who are overemployed and put in like the barest minimum amount of effort, or sometimes no effort at all, because they know like in a huge corporate structure they can be unnoticed for months and months and months and collect the salary, and if they get discovered and kicked out, well, shit, they haven't done anything for 6 months and collected 6 months worth of salary. Good for them, yes. Unethical, also kinda yes. There's like many ways of achieving what you want. It's just some of them are a little seedier than others, and I am mostly unwilling to go to such lengths to do that.
Yeah, but tell me about this. So I guess one of the ways I would have thought of would be like networking and like because I think many of these companies actually like take like referrals a bit more.
I think you
So
have to. I think you have to. The other consequences, I think, like the era of cold calling a company and like the equivalent of like walking in the office with your resume and landing a job is basically zero. Do you have to? Do you have to take that or
oh no, no,
no? Okay. So yeah, as I was saying, like the likelihood of that is basically zero. My friend was interviewing at one of the FAANG companies recently, and he got rejected. And in the letter they sent him, they said, we basically had another candidate, and you guys, skills wise, are basically identical, but he was an internal referral, and that tipped the scales in his favor. Well, shit. Like, you can't do anything about that. Like, if you don't have a referral from somebody inside, you just don't have that, you know? So, definitely networking. But at the same time, it's like, sometimes I get these people on LinkedIn, they add you, and then they're like, oh, hey, I noticed you're working at such and such company. Can you refer me to them because they have this open position? And I'm like, I don't know you. Like, why the hell would I refer you? I don't know anything about your skills or anything. Like, what gives you this idea that I'm just gonna be, oh yeah, sure, totally take this guy. I absolutely vouch for him. Like, are you kidding me? Like, what? So,
why not though?
well, I don't know their skills. I don't know anything about the person, and if I vouch for them, like my name's attached to it, and if they end up being a complete disaster, now my reputation's on the line. Like, why would I do that?
Mhm. No, because something like this happened recently that I like someone reached out to me like this, and I feel what I what I ended up doing was like I booked a meeting to actually like feel them out, like see if for someone I can refer. But at the end of the day, like this person already even applied, so it wasn't like they were asking me for like direct reference or something like this.
Well, I
So
mean, it's like one thing if somebody reaches out and says, "Hey, I applied for a company and I just want to learn a little bit more about it." And even then, that could be kind of sketch because as we talked in the previous episode, social engineering and all those good things, it's like, did they really apply? Are they really an engineer or are they some security guy, some black hat trying to poke around, maybe fishing out another person's name and then they start unrolling that? Like, just not worth it. Not worth it on so many levels.
Vasili, well, I mean, you're not wrong, but life is not this hard though.
It's not
No?
until that one moment when it actually is, and then it like I don't know. An ounce of
But you're
prevention is
not
better
wrong.
than a pound of cure, as they say.
You're not wrong. But I feel like if we keep all of this in mind, I feel it just makes things complicated
Yeah, if you keep
to
all of
help
that
each
in
other.
mind, you're just gonna find the nearest bridge and hop right off it. I feel
You know
sometimes.
what? I don't know. We have to find the balance.
It's.
I think so. Because
I don't think
because
anyone said that corporate world and humanist ideals have a lot of intersection. It's
you know
just
what?
that's the game. It is what it is.
It is what it is. It is what it is, like you said. But anyway, I was just curious about most of these things. But we'll see. The plan I was trying to make was to see like what we could do, like what could be like a game plan for like preparing for like the future. And if anyone, sometimes I think about it, but you see, like the reason is like now you see like if there's economic boost, it's usually from like the top companies. And if there is like issues also, like it starts from there. You never know, like, but again, it used to feel like maybe like the mid-sized companies or like the smaller companies have some kind of like cushion.
Hmm.
But you even this you don't know. So
But I
like
guess another question is Did those companies learn their lesson in hiring during COVID that they like shouldn't just blindly dragnet every developer they can get their little grubby hands on and then figure it out later, like 2 years down the line, that they like wasted a bunch of money on these people? Did they learn that lesson? Or are they gonna do the same thing like a couple of years down the line when that
Do
trend
you
turns
know,
around and you can just be caught in the dragnet and land yourself a juicy position without that much effort? I don't know, maybe. It's
you
possible.
know, I don't think like I feel like having manpower is an asset. And if you're able to have people, the more people you have is the more work you are able to do. So like if you actually have manpower, it's not
Not
it
real,
depends on the
not really though. Not really.
really.
If we go by Pareto principle, 20% of all of those people are doing 80% of all of that work. So if you have more people, more of them are going to be useless compared to a small percentage of the people who do all the work. So I guess their logic potentially, what I think it could be, their logic is we're going to get everybody, and then we're going to figure out who the 20% is and get rid of the rest. And then within that 20% remaining, we're going to figure out who the 20% is there and get rid of all the rest. And now we have the cream of the crop top talent. And I think in a pure sort of Randian market economy, companies would probably do that. But I think right now they're bound by like various labor regulations and unions and all that crap. They can't just lay off 80% of their workforce unless maybe you're Elon Musk, because that he like laid off 80%. So he Paretoed
I,
it exactly. It's just like 80% of the bottom just gone because they didn't really contribute anything.
how do you feel about Elon Musk? Are you does he does he fit as a model for you?
As a
It's
model, I'm
it's
not.
not a
I don't think
go
that I
on.
can use like he's definitely he's a phenom. That's for sure. I don't think that you can
What's it?
realistically use him as a role model because I think it's a lot of innate qualities. Like I don't have the degree of autism that Elon Musk has to perform at that level, first of all. And I can't obtain it. So there's already a huge barrier in the way, you know. Like I know a lot of people like to hate on Elon Musk. Uh
Hate on him.
yeah, a lot of people hate on Elon Musk. Dude, if you search for Elon Musk haters, you're gonna be counting them till the cows come home. You know, there's like infinite amount of people who like straight up hate on Elon Musk. Even before the whole political thing with like the new U.S. administration, a lot
Hmm.
of people just like, oh my god, Elon Musk, he's an idiot. I mean, fair enough. That's your opinion. How much that comports with the truth? Probably not a lot. Um, so I don't know. I like the guy. He's like I watched some of his interviews. He did like an interview to Babylon Bee, which is like this satirical. It's kind of like The Onion, but uh, they're sort of like the Christian version of The Onion. They're pretty funny, and they had like a big interview with Elon Musk, and you know it was pretty funny because they like obviously ask like some ridiculous question that is like sarcastic, and he just like without blinking straight up starts answering it because he heard the question, he's answering the question. He does like not read into any subtext for it. It's like, oh, well, they asked me, I'm gonna answer, even though like you can tell that they're trolling, and he's like completely seriously just goes and starts kind of saying what he thinks about it. So he just but I don't know. I think he's pretty funny in his own way, and I don't know. I kind of like him generally than dislike him, and he's very successful and good for him. And I don't know. I
Would
think
you
that they're
consider him a type A person? Like like
well, yeah. I mean, definitely. Just
maybe he's not.
well,
Who
how
knows?
can he not be? He has to run so many different things. I'm pretty sure
He
the guy works like freaking 20 hours every day.
I doubt that. I honestly doubt that. I mean, he probably makes a lot of expensive decisions every day. But to say that it works 20 hours every day, like I sincerely,
I
I don't know.
think that if you're in that position, okay, what do you consider work? Is thinking about everything that's happening with all of your companies with the purpose of obtaining some strategic answers. Would you consider that work? Because I would consider that work. Like if I leave
This
the
is
office and I think about the implementation details of the thing that I'm supposed to write next week, that's technically work, even though I'm not like at my computer typing, I'm still dedicating my brain power to the problem that originated at work. Therefore, it's work. I'm not get paid for
I
it.
I I don't know what it does, but I know that when you get to that level, you have a lot of people who you pay to think for you. So these people come to you with what they have thought of,
Right.
and
But
they give you
ultimately,
reports and stuff like this. So
ultimately
decisions, it
you're the
has to be.
person making decisions, you're the person
Yeah.
assuming the risks. And if you assume the kind of risks that you can't recover from, you don't recover from it. And so far a lot of his companies are doing well, which means that he has to dedicate a lot of, like, it's not a coin toss, right? So those decisions have to be made with context and understanding of all the intricate details. So I would say that that is work, regardless.
Fair enough.
And
Fair enough.
you can watch his interview where they're like, I don't remember who it was with, but he was like talking to some guy when they're like walking around the rocket, and they're talking about cooling systems. And the guy says like, "Oh, why don't you like?" They say that they do this. I think they like route some liquid through, I don't remember exactly. In my understanding from what I remember is like they route some liquid through the exterior to like, so it sucks the heat out. It basically acts as a heat exchanger, and they only do it at a smaller portion. And the guy says like, why don't you guys do it at the entire rocket or something along those lines? But like, and Musk like literally stops for like a minute and says nothing, and he's like, yeah, we did not think of that. And it was clear that he was like immediately playing with the idea and seeing how it would fit into this thing. So he like giving an interview about the rocket, and at the same time he just switches into this mode where he goes like, huh, didn't think of that. How would it play out? Like, we have to try it out for later. And then eventually later on, they actually implemented that idea in some variant. So it was a good idea that came from somebody else, and they like considered it and discussed it. I'm pretty sure a lot of engineering went into it. But it just goes to show that I think that people like that don't really stop working, even if it feels like they aren't. And
Maybe.
yeah,
Maybe. Honestly, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what his life is. Um, I respect him a lot for his achievements, but I don't know. Honestly, I only asked because um you mentioned about a type A person. I was wondering like what could be an example of a type A person or something like this. And you know, if and I also think you're a fan, so like I think maybe he could have been like a model or something like this for you or something like that. I don't know. Honestly, I was just trying to see all of this. But
I
help
think
is
in
human.
terms of role models, it's like I have people whose opinion I value quite a bit. So I mentioned him a bunch on the podcast, but like Jonathan Blow, like the game designer, game developer, I broadly agree with a lot of his sentiments that he has in terms of software as a discipline and what quality means and what are the right things to do and what are the wrong things to do. Um, would In terms of business, I know that they make games that have commercial success, but I don't know enough details to kind of model my behavior to achieve similar goals on the person. But like in terms of his professional opinion in the domain of programming languages and software development and engineering overall, like I listen to what he has to say and I take up quite a bit of it because I feel like it's a lot of valid points, right? Something along those lines. But in terms of actual role model, that is broadly applied to multiple different things in life, that's a harder proposition. I'd have to think about that. I don't have anything like immediately off the top of my head that comes up.
Okay, fair enough. When you do, I hope you share with me.
Yeah. Well, you know,
Mm.
this other guy, I've watched a whole bunch of his content. He's in sales, a very successful guy, definitely type A personality, like the Alex Hormozy guy. And he was saying one sentiment that was interesting to me was like, when people give you advice about what you should do with your life, you should look at them and ask yourself, do you want what they have? And if you don't want what they have, then don't take their advice, because what's the point? Like if they're telling you how to live your life, but at the same time they themselves don't have anything that you would want, that well, their advice is shit. Because if
I
it
don't
worked,
know.
they would have been in a better place.
Yeah, in my opinion, I don't think this is always true. There are some things that are true, but not always true. Say, for example, um, sometimes some people know things, but they don't have the personality to implement what they know. Say, for example, some
Yeah,
people are
even
sometimes
myself.
really
Everything I
blessed
tell
with
you about
wisdom.
success in the industry, I have very, 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 very moderate success in the industry. So you can choose to listen to me, but
No, no, like,
maybe I should just, in fact, podcast over. Uh, I'm not a tech billionaire, bro, so all of my advice is worth exactly zilch. Okay, we're done here.
no, no, I was making a point. Wait.
Sorry, sorry.
So, like, um, I know I've read about, like, there's some people who actually have the talent to give to give counsel. Like, this is a thing. Like, some people are just really good at it. They might not even know a lot about it, but they have the gift of counseling. And there is this. Also, sometimes I find like people. Okay, this might people who, I don't want to use the word lazy, but like they give the best advice. Like, they just know how to do it, but they themselves might not be able to do it. But they
But
know
then
how to do it.
where's the valid? I guess that the problem is like where's the validation that their advice actually works? Like
The,
if they themselves don't have it, then they at least should be able to point to a person and say he followed my advice. And even then, because there's no causal relationship between this person A giving advice to person B and person B's success. It could have been something completely unrelated. And person A is like, oh yes, they're totally successful just because of my advice. It's like, no, we cannot make that inference. That's not logically sound. It could have been a ton of other things why they are successful, and your advice has nothing to do with it. So the only way, really, and that even applies to the person giving the advice. Even if they are very successful, when they look back at it and reflect on it, they could derive some idea of why that is so, and it could be wrong. It could have been other factors that they haven't considered. So now they're giving this advice saying, hey, I totally have achieved success because of this.
just
Maybe,
you
maybe
see,
not.
yeah, yeah. So,
So
like,
basically, I
the
think I've
advice
just
might not be
proven
the
that
truth.
all advice on the internet is complete horseshit, and that's it. Well,
No,
I'm kidding. Obviously, advice like I don't know. I was gonna say like work hard, but then working hard is not like a lot of people work really really hard. That doesn't really get them anything. Like
exactly.
work smart. What does that even mean?
You
It,
see.
if we start unraveling this thread, I don't think it's gonna end well.
Honestly, I feel like when it comes to advice, you you as the person receiving the advice needs to know what to do with it. It's
You
like,
have to, yeah, you have to feel what resonates with you. If it makes
yeah,
sense to you and if it resonates with you and you apply it and it works, was it the advice itself or you just had some alignment? You just basically had a confirmation that what you're doing is right. it wasn't even the advice itself. It's just like this another reinforcement. It's like, okay, I'm on the
Yeah,
right path. You know,
yeah.
like
So
you and I, we talked about like various things that were happening with your work, and I could
mhm.
tell that some of these things resonated, and things happened. Was it because of it? I don't know. I could point at say, hey, like Mo improved his life because of the things I told him on the phone 2 years ago. Is it true? I mean, Mo
I mean,
definitely improved his life, but again, that causality between me giving him some advice and him doing the work is tenuous at best. I'd like to think that. Maybe he can even say, oh, yeah, totally, it was Vasili's advice. I would feel good about it. Doesn't make it true still, ultimately. So who knows?
yeah, exactly. So like you have to figure how it works for you. So honestly, some people are really good at it. To be honest, not because I think you feel good about it, but I think I would say you're one of the people I know who actually give good advice. I feel like you give good advice. So I think some people have this gift and it's just natural. It doesn't mean that you have to look at their life and be like, oh yeah, if you know about it, why you not doing it? They just know it. It's up to you to take it or not. So when it comes to advice, yeah, you never really know who will give you the best one.
Yeah,
So you just have to figure out what is the best one for you
yeah.
because you need to know where you're going in life for someone to tell you the direction.
Yeah, and the timing too. You know, there's different stages in your life where the same advice given at different stages in your life would not resonate at all here, resonate very strongly here, and not resonate at all further down the line. It's like it's so highly context dependent. But you know, you heard what he said. He said I give good advice. If you want some advice, email me. You know,
Yeah,
you can find my email
yeah,
on my website. If you can't find my
yeah.
website, you're probably not gonna benefit from my advice.
Maybe DM. We
Yeah,
can DM
you can
you.
you can you can leave a comment. You can. I don't know if you can DM
Yeah.
on YouTube, but you could certainly leave a comment. So with that in
All
mind,
right.
I think we should wrap it up.
Yeah, yeah. It's been a very interesting conversation today.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank you,
for
Mo.
your time, Vasily.
Thank you so much, and we'll do it again soon enough, and we'll see you all in the next one. Thank you, and have a great day. Bye.
Bye.